Hey guys, it says that I am live, and we're going to talk about why do they want to assassinate Donald Trump. Now, listen, this is just my 2 cents. It's just my 2 cents. I can't prove anything, but a lot of people are saying, why do they want to kill Donald Trump? Two assassination attempts, possibly more that we don't know about. But we do know certain things, and I'll talk to you about them. But follow me on this, and I think you guys are going to really like the explanation I give you, and it's something that you guys already know. So there's been a couple of presidents that we know in history that have been uh, their lives at one. Uh, they killed them, Lincoln and Kennedy. So the reason they want to kill Donald Trump would be, in my opinion, the same reason they wanted to kill Kennedy, and the same reason they killed Lincoln. Now, let's go over a couple of things here. With Lincoln, let's go over with Lincoln. With Lincoln, you can get this on Wikipedia, the Contrition Act of 1866. It says here, notice that when Lincoln was president, everybody had either gold coins or silver coins, copper pennies. But there were paper currency, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But here's the point. It says the currency was not based in gold and was not created by private banks. What's that? It's talking about this, the greenbacks. So Lincoln created a currency, and he's saying, listen, we got babies being born, we got immigrants coming in, we're going to increase the money supply. I'm just going to print the money that I need for this and that and for the war, and I can justify it. And and if I don't overprint, I won't have inflation because we got babies being born, we got people coming in and people working. But if you go back, what happened at that time, right before that, the banks were creating the money. Abraham Lincoln created the greenbacks. But now, when he made this currency, it wasn't backed with gold. It was backed with the full faith that the government was going to pay it back. But do you notice the point that it was not created by private banks? So the private banks had a whole bunch of paper notes like this one, but they weren't green. They were different colors. But check this out. There were over 7,000 different kinds of bank notes by 1,600 state banks. Because you remember about the story of the guy on the $20 bill, Andrew Jackson, and the Central Bank of the United States, right? So that's a different story. But notice that we have 1,600 banks issuing over 7,000 different kinds of paper. That's kind of confusing, with more than half being spurious. And we don't have to look up in the dictionary to understand what that means. So what I'm trying to say is that was a lot of confusion. So by having a national, a common currency that everybody recognized, and then you wanted to make sure that it was going to be good, then you would trust the government over the local bank. And that was part of the uproar too. Now check this out. And this is where it leads to, I'm going to talk to you about how this affects Donald Trump's assassination. In it, when he was creating this, Lincoln said, right there in the bottom, he goes, it would be unjust to the people at large to exempt banks enjoying the special privilege of circulation from their just proportion of public burdens. So think about this. The banks were creating money, paper, currency. But you know what they weren't doing? They weren't building roads. They didn't have a military, right? They weren't carrying the burden of the people. So the president in this case was right. Lincoln was right in this, that here you are, you banks have the special privilege of circulating the money, creating money, printing money, yet you don't hold your just portion of the public burdens. And from this day, from this moment, even before and up in the turn of the century, 1900s, banks, there's stories all over Wikipedia where they were making millions of dollars in the money back then, not paying a dime in taxes. And then you have today, banks paying, like Chase Bank, paying $1 billion in fees for their illegal manipulation of the silver market that affects people all over the world and the miners and workers, but nobody goes to jail. See, this is what he's talking about, that you guys enjoy all of these special privileges. None of you guys go to jail when you break the law, and you don't add to the public burden. So then what did he do? Well, he got rid of the over 7,000 banknotes, and then he created what? He created what we have today, a modern, let me show you a picture here, a modern greenback. And then that's why our money is green. So I'm going to remove that. I'm doing this so I can get and so remember, it was created by the private banks when Lincoln did this. Now, this is very important because you fast forward all the way to JFK, another president who was murdered, assassinated. And if you look at this $5 bill and you go, I don't know if I have a $5 bill. I should have one. Let me see. I should have done my show prep. I have a $5 bill. Notice the difference. You see on the top it says Federal Reserve Note, but this one doesn't say Federal Reserve Note. It says United States Note. Let's get rid of that. Federal Reserve Note. So that is very telling, and that's why they killed Kennedy. And I'm going to give you another reason why they killed Kennedy. So remember that slide I showed you where the banks create the paper? Well, Kennedy says, no. I'm going to print a $5 bill and I'm going to put the name of the United States on it. We got people being born because of the 1950s, right? The baby boomers. We have immigration coming in. I'm going to increase the money supply. Instead of me taxing you, I'm just going to print the money. And I'm going to put it under the United States note. Well, guess who doesn't like that? Isn't it interesting that when he's dead, they got rid of that and they replaced it back with a Federal Reserve note? That's not a coincidence, my friend. And here's the other thing that you need to know. The other reason why they killed Kennedy is because of this. And what you're looking at there are the silver coins. So when John F. Kennedy was president, you had silver, 90% silver in the coins, in the nickels, in the dimes and the quarters. And look at how much they cost today. So when you do the math and you say, well, milk costs $3 a gallon. Well, how much did it cost when Kennedy was there? It cost a lot less. It cost, say, about 25 cents or say 50 cents or 25 cents. Well, when you start doing the math, well, why did it cost 25 cents or 30 or 40 cents when Kennedy was president? And why does it cost $3 for a gallon of gas or $3 for a gallon of milk? Because the money was made with silver. So what happened is John F. Kennedy got shot and killed. And what a coincidence that after they put a bullet in his head, all of those silver dimes and all of those silver quarters and all of those silver dollars and silver half dollars, guess what happens to them? They get pulled out of circulation. But one thing that's very interesting, if you go also on APMEX, you'll see that there's a lot of silver quarters in the 40% silver half dollars, and they have Kennedy's face on it. So they were commemorating Kennedy and saying, hey, Kennedy, we're going to give you silver, but not 90% silver. We're going to give you 40% silver, like a big middle finger. We killed you. We took the silver out. We got rid of your $5. And when the people would bring the $5 back to the bank would shred, would send it back to the United States. The United States Treasury would then shred it because the Federal Reserve is the sheriff in town. They're the real boss. So they killed the president, Lincoln, and they killed President Kennedy. And this is all over YouTube, so I'm not telling anybody anything they already don't know. But they killed President Kennedy because he did two things. He kept the silver in the money, and he kept, and that same silver buys you, you know, those 10, 20 cent coins will still buy you a gallon of gas today if it's the Kennedy dime, if it's the Kennedy quarters, and the $5 bill. So he bypassed the banks, like we saw when Lincoln was in that clip that I showed you, where Lincoln was saying, you guys can print the money, but you don't share the burden. You banks print the money, but you don't build roads. And now you don't give Social Security benefits. See, so the banks are always taking, and killing who? Killing people like Lincoln, killing people like Kennedy, who doesn't like war. And who else did they kill?
This is today, December 9th. I'm here with Jane Pauley, and this entire half hour will be devoted to the murder of John Lennon, ex-Beatle, one of the best-known musicians and most influential people of his time. As you heard Dr.
What about this?
On a lonely island of poverty, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
So they killed Lincoln, they killed Kennedy because they decided to bypass the banks, keep silver as currency, and then they kill anybody who becomes populist and says, let's give peace a chance. Let's stop fighting wars. Or, hey, we're all equal. No, you're not all equal. So then we fast forward to today, and I'm just going to show you, I'm just trying to add we fast forward to today, and this is what we have. You guys have all seen this. This is the debt clock. I think I sent you the, we just hit reply and make sure my brother Jesse gets the link. So here's the thing. So now, why do they want to kill Donald Trump? Well, we got 35 million plus hundreds of millions of dollars in unfunded liabilities. And then we have a thing called quadrillions of dollars in derivatives, which is like basically like, say, for example, you owe me $1,000. And then I say, hey, Jesse, I have this piece of paper that this guy on YouTube owes me for $1,000. Can you lend me money? Because I need money now because I gave him my $1,000. And so then he gives me $1,000. And then Jesse goes and gets another loan. If that same paper it's called rehypothecation. It's in the numbers that just don't even exist. Now, that's just one part. So then I'm going to tell you why they want to kill Donald Trump. Are you ready? The reason they want to kill Donald Trump is because you have this huge debt burden. The government knows that we have to replace the dollar with something new. Because remember I showed you the clip, I showed you this picture. Let me go back. See, it's still a dollar, but that dollar looks different than the dollar you have in your pocket. But it's still a greenback and you have a greenback. But it's different. But in the eyes of you and me, it looks, when they do the transition, it looks the same. So when the government gives you, here's another one. When the government gives you a quarter, it looks like the other quarter, but it's a new quarter. It's made out of nickel. The old quarter is made out of silver. It's the transition. So what we have here is a transition that needs to take place. And who's going to be in charge? Well, Kamala and Biden, they're experts when it comes to money. You know, well, here is the reason why they want to kill Donald J. Trump. Ready? Here we go.
And this I do for Vivek because he's very big into it. I happen to agree with him, but he said, "Could you mention this? I will never." She said, "I love Vivek. I love him too now. I didn't love him when he was running, but I like him now." It's amazing the way you can like somebody when you win, right? But Vivek is great. He's really great. But he wanted this, and I'll give him full credit for it. It's very important, actually. I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency. And we will protect innocent life, and we will restore free speech, and I will secure our elections, and our goal will be one day voting with paper ballots and a thing called voter ID. Voter ID.
Okay, right there. So we're going to talk about voter ID and paper ballots as well, why that has to do with money. But you see what happens is this. You have to have a transition. The transition from the old money that you have, the old quarters, from the silver to the nickel. Now we have to have a new transition of money. And let me see if I can pull this up. It says your computer. Here it is. This came out on the news a couple of days ago or yesterday. I don't know why I can't get it. I don't know if you can read that. It's kind of small, but it says the World Bank seeks to replace your signature with your biometrics. So what the World Bank wants is to put everything on your phone. And in that, it's called a CBDC. It'll also be on your fingerprint. And so what happens is they'll have a new money. And how that money will work is real simple. They'll say, if you want to join and have the new US dollar, how much do you have in the bank? We'll have $100,000 in the bank. If you join now, we'll give you $100,000 new dollars. Because us Mexicans know that in Mexico, it's called the nuevo peso, the new peso. The old peso is still around, but only in the banks and Wall Street, and it's done behind the scenes. But the new peso is what's being circulated in Mexico. So then what they'll tell you is, if you do not get your money out of Wells Fargo and put it into the CBDC, then we're going to give you 90 cents on the dollar, and then 80 cents on the dollar, and then 70, and then eventually you won't get nothing. So that's what they did. And you don't believe me, all you have to do is go back to APMEX. All you have to do is go back to APMEX, and then on this website, click on the money, the old US dollars. You had only a certain time to turn in those old dollars to the bank to redeem your gold and redeem your silver certificates, gold certificates. And if you didn't redeem them within a certain time, well, guess what? Game's over. So now those dollars are only worth their weight in as far as collector series. Now, and you'll see them for sale on APMEX.com. So that's the point. If you do not jump into the new system, into the new currency that they have, then you're going to lose all your money. And this is why it's so important, because see, if you have all the power which the United States has with the money, all of your sheriff, your police, FBI, CIA, every politician gets paid with US dollars. But once your US dollar is only worth the texture to wipe your ass, like Zimbabwe. You can wipe your ass with Zimbabwe dollars because that's all it's worth. So when that happens, how are you going to pay the CIA? How are you going to pay the sheriff? How are you going to pay the FBI? So if this gets destroyed, then you lose power. And once you lose power, it gets sucked away in a vacuum. And there's 50 states and thousands of counties and cities and countries. Everyone is vying for that power. So the banks know that they need to keep the power. But because we're going bankrupt, we need to transition into the new system. Because not only are we in debt with US dollars and with derivatives, we also have other dollars that you don't know about called petrodollars. We also have euro dollars. So whatever this thing says, it's not even true. And that's the point. It's not true. And so in order for you to have a government, you have to have a government right now in 2024, you have to have a government of people who believe in lies and who tell lies. And this is what's happening. We have a bunch of people in Congress, in government, who are liars. But they need to replace us who believe in the truth with people who love lies.
Number one human attribute that our current immigration system selects for is your willingness to lie, actually. Right? Because if somebody wants to come into the country and they say, okay, I cannot in good conscience select that I'm seeking asylum at imminent risk of bodily harm for my race or my religion, I can't say that in good conscience because it's not true. Even though I'm undergoing conditions of difficulty, that person's not going to get in. But the person who does get into the country is the person who checks that box, knowing full well that it's not true. So now you look at that stat from Elon, not only is that those are the people who are coming into the country, a small fraction of which become Democratic voters. There are a small fraction of which, even in the path to becoming Democratic voters, are demonstrably already the people most willing to be dishonest and to lie. And by the way, if you're selecting systematically for people who are more willing to lie to the U.S. government than not, you're selecting for people who are more likely to break the law when they continue to be here as well. So that's the hard truth is you get what you pay for. Okay, the incentives you set up, that's what you collect. And what we reward right now, it's not like Harvard's college admissions, okay? Or maybe they reward that too, who knows? But your willingness to lie is the number one attribute that gets you into the United States or not. That is a hard truth in today's immigration system.
And also in government, your willingness to lie. So do you think that that Kamala Harris understands this debt? Do you think that Joe Biden understands this debt? Or do you believe that Donald J. Trump, who went to the Wharton School of Finance, understands this, understands international trade? Do you think a man who's actually done international trade before he became president understands this? Of course he does. He just won't talk about it. He won't talk about a lot of these things because of the political repercussions. He'll try to go down a different path, but he understands it. And he understands that this is a war. And that's why he said, when he said no CBDCs, he's saying, I am the sheriff, I am Lincoln, and I am going to print the money. I am John F. Kennedy, and I'm going to print the $5 bill. I don't need you banks. I have to build the roads in North Carolina and Tennessee that got demolished. I got to help the hurricane victims. But you bankers have all the money, you print it, and you make it with the interest, but yet you don't share the burden. And then you don't pay the taxes. And the history is filled with the bankers paying off the politicians and not getting their taxes. I looked this up on Wikipedia. It's just, it blows the mind. So of course you have to kill Donald Trump because Donald Trump is what's holding you back in the transition of money. So when you're going from the old dollar, they're going to give you a brand new dollar. It's going to be green and it's going to be on your phone and it's going to connect to your finger. It's going to be the new dollar. It's going to all be the same in your mind. But instead of being silver, it's going to be zinc. Instead of being this money, it's going to be a different. But in your mind, it's the transition. And Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are like, yeah, I'll go along for the ride. I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about, but I'll say whatever you want me to say. But Donald Trump understands this, and he's going to say, no, I am in charge. I am the chief executive voted by the people. And I, like Kennedy, I'm going to make the decisions. I, like Lincoln, I'm going to make the decisions. And that's the way it's supposed to be. But there's a group of people and their bankers that say, no, we're in charge. We're unelected, and we're just like the Jehovah's Witness Bible, anonymous.